Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Self-Care Forum podcast. My name is Dr. Cedric Bachetu. I'm your host for the hour. On this forum, we bring knowledge to empower you and address the root cause of your disease. Our goal is simply to interest you in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease. Today, we're joined by none other than Mokaya, MD, otherwise known as Dr. Kemmy. Dr. Kemmy is a highly respected, Ivy League educated, board certified dermatologist. She is skilled in medical, surgical, ethnic, cosmetic, and lifestyle dermatology and has been practicing for a decade. She is trusted by thousands for the exemplary, compassionate care that she provides. Dr. Kemmy is also a mindset coach, a best-selling author, and a podcaster. She is a dynamic speaker who empowers and inspires as she speaks about mindset, the skin, and other topics. Her mission is to help people adopt and sustain habits that create healthy minds and bodies so that they can live to their fullest potential. Dr. Kemmy, I want to thank you for joining us here on the Self-Care Forum podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It's an honor.
Yes, no, the honor is all mine. Before I get into the meat and potatoes of things, I like to learn a little bit more about our guests. So I want to talk a little bit about what inspired you to begin your journey to become a doctor. What was it in your childhood that inspired you to choose this career?
So I grew up in Nairobi, Kenya, and growing up, I was in a family where we had a lot of people in healthcare. My father is a pharmacist, my mother is a nurse. I have two uncles who are doctors, and so I grew up to understand that the family's way of giving back and serving society is through healthcare. My grandfather was a pastor, and he always instilled in us that you have to serve people. God created you on earth to serve people. And he would tell us your job is to figure out how you're going to serve people. So with a father as a pharmacist, a mother as a nurse, initially I thought, I want to be a nurse. But then my mom told me, no, I mean, nursing is amazing. But my mom told me that she had wanted to be a doctor herself. But in the days when she was in school I suppose it must have been the 70s or the 60s, she was told that being a doctor was not for people who looked like her and not for women. And so she was told, you be a nurse, that's what women do, and that's what Black women do. And so when I told her, Mommy, you're such an amazing nurse, I want to be like you, she's like, you know what, you can be a doctor. Being a nurse is amazing, but it's harder to be a doctor. We don't choose the easy things, we choose the hardest things. So be a doctor, serve people in healthcare that way. And I like that. And I thought, yes, if I'm going to be in healthcare, let me do what's the hardest part, because God has blessed me with these abilities. So I was determined to do my best. And along the way, there are a lot of people who discouraged me. There's still a lot of those sentiments that women couldn't be doctors. And you know what, you should just settle down, be pretty, be a rich man's wife, and life will be good. But I was just like, you know what, God created me for a purpose. I think I want to serve people, and I love science. I'm good at it, so I'm gonna go for medicine. And I went for it.
Wow. And who's to say you can't be both pretty and a doctor? You can be all of those things. That's amazing. And just a little bit about what made you choose dermatology specifically. What about the skin or skincare drew your interest?
So for dermatology, actually, if you asked me when I was going to medical school, dermatology was one of the last specialties I would have chosen. I love working with women, and I had actually thought I was going to become a gynecologist. I love the fact that you could do surgical work, you could do medical work and surgical work. But then when I went through the gynecology rotation, it actually wasn't as fulfilling for me as I thought it would be. And then when I did my dermatology rotation, things just seemed to fit in. I love the fact that with dermatology, people could come to you, and with your knowledge, just by looking at the skin, sometimes you knew exactly what you had to do with them without any further testing required. And you could give them a prescription, and within 3 months it'd come back. And just by using your eyes again, you could see if they're doing better, if they're doing worse, and how you can tweak the regimen. So I love the fact, the instant gratification combination of being able to just use my eyes and my knowledge to diagnose people. I also love the fact that dermatology, you get to see women, men, people of all ages from 0 to 99 and beyond. I love the fact that most patients who come to us are not really sick. Some of them are sick, but they're not as acutely sick as the type of patients some other doctors see. And I like that because since they were not so sick, I could get to know them better. And it was more like, of course, I was saving lives. When we catch skin cancers, we save lives, but it was also more of improving the quality of people's lives. And I loved that. In dermatology, we also have a lot of procedures. We do surgeries to take out skin cancers and things like cysts. We do cosmetic procedures. So it's very broad. One day it can be all medical, talking about things, prescribing things. The next day it can be all surgical and using my hands. So I love the fact that I get to do everything. And so that's why I'm a general dermatologist, because I get to do a little bit of everything, and that makes it fun.
Well, you make it sound easier than I'm sure it is. So the theme for today's conversation is how to have healthy skin and how to age gracefully. And when we talk about healthy skin and healthy aging and looking younger, one thing that always seems to come up in this conversation is sunlight. On one hand, you hear that, look, you need the sun to get vitamin D. On the other hand, you hear, look, the sun can damage your skin, can give you sunspots, all of these things. Can you shed some light on sun safety? What's the impact of the sun on our skin?
So that's a great question that you asked. Thank you so much. So the sun, again, as you said, is amazing because it makes us happy. It warms us. We need it for life pretty much. Without the sun, we wouldn't have life. Unfortunately, when it comes to the skin, the sun, the ultraviolet rays from the sun can actually age and damage the skin. And actually, it is estimated that about 80% of skin aging comes from the ultraviolet rays from the sun. So as much as the ultraviolet rays are good, when they penetrate the skin, they damage the DNA. They cause what we call reactive oxygen species, and that breaks down collagen and causes the skin to age faster. So although the sun is good for vitamin D synthesis, whenever you have something good, you want something good in moderation. So I'd say, yes, you can get some sunlight for vitamin D synthesis and just for the feeling of well-being, but also remember to protect your skin from the sun because it helps, but it also harms the skin, and it's responsible for a lot of the signs of aging that we see, as you mentioned, like the sunspots, the wrinkles that we get, the saggy skin. Over time, the sun ages the skin. And one easy way to tell that apart is to compare the skin on a part of your body that sees a lot of the sun, like say, for example, your hand or your face, and compare it to your thighs or your bottom. They say as smooth as a baby's bottom for a reason, because those parts of the skin don't see the sun, and so they don't have that damage from the sun. And that's why we know that the sun, yes, is amazing, but can damage the skin. So I'd say, yes, go out in the sun and enjoy the sun, but practice sun safety. And then I'm sure you're going to ask me what sun safety is. So there are many things that go into sun safety. As a dermatologist, I like to talk about sunscreen. We all do, but sunscreen is one of the components of sun safety. It's not the only one, but it's one of the components. And there are two types of sunscreens, and maybe we can go into that a little bit more later in terms of how to select a sunscreen. But we just have to remember that sunscreen use is one component of sun safety. And if you're going to be out in the sun for more than 10 minutes, it's important to use your sunscreen. Sunscreen use is one element of sun safety. Another element of sun safety is picking the times of the day when you're going to be out in the sun. So the best times of the day to be out in the sun are in the early morning or the late evening. So I'd say anytime before 10 a.m. and then after 3 p.m. is a great time. We want to avoid the midday sun because that's when the sun rays are strongest and that's when they're more damaging. So your early morning jog or your late evening jog are perfect for you. Another useful thing to just know how strong the sun is, you could actually check your weather app, and usually they have a UV meter that shows you how strong the sun rays are. And so if the UV index of the day, if they show that it's red, usually the UV index it'll be a spectrum from green to red. When it's green, it means it's a safe day to go outside. And when it's red, it means that the UV rays are really strong and damaging. So we can take advantage of technology and our apps on our phones to know whether it's safe to go outside. So just to recap again, we've talked about sunscreen use, and everybody should be using sunscreen, not just people who are light-skinned. Even though your skin is rich with melanin, you still need some sunscreen. So that's one thing, avoiding the midday sun, checking the UV index to see how strong the sun is, and then also wearing your protective gear like sunglasses, hats, and long-sleeved garments that will protect you from the UV rays.
Well, thank you for clarifying, because I was actually going to ask you to elaborate on the differences between darker skin and lighter skin, if there was such a significant difference, because I grew up with the notion that, hey, we're African people, we can go out in the sun, suck up all that, sun, solar ray and be okay. But you seem to imply that, even darker skin or more melanated people should still use or get exposure in moderation.
So absolutely. So having melanin is a blessing. People with a lot of melanin have a natural protective factor. So melanin protects us from the sun, and it has antioxidant properties, but it is estimated that the darkest skinned person has an SPF of around 13, between 13 and 15, whereas the recommended SPF value we should be using is SPF 30 and higher. So even if you have a lot of melanin, you still don't have enough protection. And yes, your melanin will protect you. And that's why we have the quote that says, black skin don't crack. The reason why people say black don't crack is because the extra melanin keeps the skin younger a little bit longer. And so the signs of aging are seen about 10 years later in people with darker skin. So, for example, some people tend to get Botox in their late 20s and their 30s, but we find in people with more melanin, the date of getting cosmetic procedures is postponed. They tend to get it in their 40s and their 50s because that melanin is protecting, but the melanin is still not enough. There's still signs of aging. And again, just do an experiment, compare your skin in parts of the body that have gotten sun and parts that haven't gotten sun, and you'll see that difference. And that difference is because of the UV, the damage from the ultraviolet rays.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Now, in the case that black does crack, how do you recommend, what regimen do you propose that for those with obvious signs of sun damage or aging or maybe sunspot? What are some tips for a good skincare regimen on top of what you've already told us?
Okay, so for your good skincare regimen, as we've mentioned, you want to protect yourself from the sun. And you know what? It's never too late to start sun protection. It's ideal for children and people in their 20s. Those are the preventive years. But even in your 30s, 40s, even if you're 70, it's never too late to start sun protection. So that's one thing. Now, when it comes to a regimen, everyone should have a good regimen. Probably the only people who are exempt from a regimen is children who are not in the teenage years. But by the time we get to teenagehood and we're dealing with acne and the other problems that come with that, we need a regimen. Now, the components, the most basic components of a good regimen are: one, you have to have a good cleanser and a cleanser that matches your skin type. So you need to have the good cleanser to cleanse away the dirt of the day and just to make sure you're having a nice clean canvas. And then, so in addition to a good cleanser, and I'd say even for the minimalists and for the men out there who want to use one soap and shampoo from head to toe, it's still a good idea to get the cleanser that works for you. In our 20s and our 30s, 30s, the skin is forgiving and anything goes. But as we get to our late 30s and our 40s, when people are not taking care of their skin, it really shows. So again, first step is having a good cleanser to just cleanse away the dirt and make sure you have a good canvas. And then the second most basic step in the morning is a good moisturizer. And a moisturizer makes a really big difference. When your skin is dry and not well moisturized, you can actually look older just by having your dry ashy skin. So it's really important to have the right moisturizer, and the right moisturizer for you will depend on many things. It will depend on your own skin type, your own basic skin type, and it will also depend on the environment that you're in. So for example, if you're in Florida in the summer when it's humid, you'll need a lighter moisturizer, whereas if you're in Canada or in some of the colder states in the winter, regardless of your skin type, you'll need a thicker moisturizer just to help you deal with your environment. So again, a cleanser, a moisturizer that works for your skin and for the weather that you're in. And then in the morning, I'd say after your cleanser and your moisturizer, definitely put your sunscreen. In the evening, I'd say instead of putting your sunscreen, you could start with your cleanser, and then for some people, they'll need a serum or some product that has an antioxidant or a product like a retinol, and then your moisturizer. So it really depends on your age and your stage in life. However, I would say that for people who are 35 and older, for the most part, retinols and retinoids are a very useful thing to incorporate into your regimen, whether you're using it once a week, 4 times a week, or every single day. And we can talk a little bit more about retinoids, or we can go in another direction, because that's a whole topic in itself. But retinoids are some of the most researched ingredients in dermatology. We have over 35 years of research that back their effectiveness and show how effective they are in dealing with conditions like acne and controlling acne, in dealing with collagen production and preventing premature aging or reducing the signs of aging. Retinoids help to even out the skin tone and the pigmentation, so they help with the dark spots eventually, and they help even out the complexion. And it's even thought that retinoids can help slow down or prevent the development of skin cancer. So if you'd like, we can talk a little bit more about retinoids, or we could save that for another day.
No, please elaborate, because as you were talking about retinoids and antioxidants, I kept thinking about food, because I know fruits tend to have these things. Am I right?
Yes, you're right. Fruits tend to have a lot of antioxidants. So then when we talk about retinoids, the thing that, one of the things that I think of when I think of retinoids is a carrot, because carrots are rich in vitamin A, and retinoids are vitamin A derivatives. So there are many compounds that fall under that family. So the retinols, retinaldehyde, and then the retinoids that are prescription, they all fall under that class. The prescription retinoids tend to be stronger and tend to work better, and they can either be topical or they can be oral. A lot of people have heard of the medication Accutane, even though that's not a trade name that's used anymore. People refer to oral retinoids as Accutane. And that's what we use when we're managing people with very severe acne that has refused to respond to other things. So that's on the spectrum of really, really strong retinoids. Then we have the topical retinoids that can be used for acne, and they can also be used for people for anti-aging properties. And then the retinols that you can buy in cosmetic products over the counter that are weaker and take much longer, but they eventually get to the same goal. And so with retinoids and retinols, it's important. The important thing is to know to know the baseline and to know what goal we're getting to. So for example, if you have acne, we want to use the stronger retinoids to just get it under control. And then on the other hand, if we have somebody in their 30s who's just doing this to protect themselves from premature aging, then you can start with store brand retinols and just use them very sparingly and gradually get used to them, because they're topicals that people can use for years and years. I have an example of a lady in her 80s who came to see me, and she said that when she first heard of retinoids, she went to her doctor, started using them, and I'm telling you, compared to many other 80-year-old ladies, her skin looked amazing. The retinoids take forever to work. So sometimes it takes 6 months or 12 months of use to see the results, but it's like compound interest. The more you use it, the more the results come, and you just have to be patient. You have to trust the science with over 35 years of research. So you need to trust the science and trust that they'll work for you. And the important thing is to incorporate them into your regimen slowly and keep them there. And the reason why I say you have to incorporate them to your regimen slowly is that they can be very irritating, especially if you have sensitive skin. So they'll cause side effects like peeling, dryness, cracked lips, and irritation, and even a rash called retinoid dermatitis. They'll cause that in the first few weeks of using them, especially if they're used every day and if too much is used. So there is an art to using retinoids, and I probably won't go into that in a lot of detail, just not to bore the audiences. There's a lot of information about that, but it's something you should, if you're 30 plus, you should be incorporating a retinoid in your skincare.
Thank you for that. I'm 30 plus, and it's not something I've ever even considered, to be honest with you. But you learn something new every day, and I thank you for sharing that piece of information with us. Okay, so when it comes to on top of the retinols, you mentioned we could also get them from food. Is there a certain diet that you think is more beneficial to maintaining good skincare? Is there a certain way we should be eating, for example?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So diet really does affect skin, whether we like it or not. So, for people who want to look amazing and they think, oh, I don't feel like I want to eat anything I want and I can cover it all up with makeup. The reality is that self-care is skincare, and taking care of your general health will take care of your general skin. And so, the same dietary guidelines that we use for conditions like diabetes and just maintaining general health will apply to the skin. So, we talked about antioxidants. For the sake of your skin, you want to eat foods that are rich in antioxidants. And just as a general guide, you'll get most of your antioxidants from fruits and vegetables. And when it comes to fruits and vegetables, you'll want to eat a rainbow. So you'll want things that are red, orange, yellow, purple, the nice deep colors, and you want a nice variety of them because each of them have different antioxidants and different vitamins in different amounts. And so if you can mix and match from different food groups, you'll really help your body out, get the antioxidants that fight the signs of aging and the free radicals from ultraviolet radiation and from pollution and other things that cause us to age. So what I'll just say that if you want an anti-aging diet, just to make it simple, incorporate more plants into your diet. The more plants you have in your diet, the better off you are. You definitely want a lot of vegetables and a lot of fruits, more veggies than fruits, lots of colors, vary the colors, vary the flavors, and you'll have that antioxidant rich.
Very well said. Thank you for that. Now, it seems to me that with all of these different health issues that we're dealing with, one thing that is common across the board seems to be eating more fruits and more vegetables. That seems to make a common reoccurrence with everyone that I have on the podcast. They seem to always encourage people to eat more fruits, eat more vegetables, eat more greens. And so it's amazing how that happens. In terms of, what about in terms of just lifestyle? You have people who smoke, you have people who, they don't necessarily live the healthiest. They're exposed to maybe where they live isn't the best. What are some habits or choices that we make that are detrimental to our skincare or can make us age a little bit faster?
So pretty much the habits that are detrimental to your skincare. First one is just not protecting yourself from the sun, because again, we said up to 80% of aging can come from the ultraviolet rays from the sun. And also, as we're talking about ultraviolet rays, let me also talk about blue light. Blue light comes from our devices like our phones, our iPads, our computers. The blue light has also been shown to cause aging. So it's unfortunately unfortunately. I know I'm sad because I spend so much time in front of a blue light, in front of screens every day, but yes, it does cause aging. So you can fight that by having the antioxidants in your diet and having a healthy lifestyle. Other habits that you'd like to break is to kick the habit of smoking. So if there's somebody out there who's trying to quit smoking and needs another reason to stop smoking, then stop smoking for the sake of your skin so that you don't age prematurely. Smoking has so many toxins and pollutants, and it definitely contributes to skin aging and wrinkles, in addition to all the other bad things it does to the body. Other habits that you should cut back on is alcohol. I know we are told that wine is healthy for us and people love their alcohol. Keep it in moderation. Too much alcohol will age the skin in addition to damaging the body. Other habits that you would like to kick are habits of not sleeping enough. So, in our society nowadays with Netflix and all that we have to do, most people are not getting enough sleep. There's a reason why it was called beauty sleep. Our skin regenerates itself in our sleep, especially between the hours of 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. Those are the peak regeneration hours when the skin is just repairing itself, regenerating itself. And so you want to be sleeping so that the skin can repair all the damage that happened during the day. And so I'm talking to college students and professionals who, like me, sometimes try to cut back on sleep. Yes, you might be more productive in what you're doing, but it will age you. So try your best to prioritize getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. And it's easier said than done. And Dr. Cedric, you have a 5-month-old. I have a 1-year-old. With the little ones, it's so hard to get that sleep. That's why they say babies age their parents. But you know what? Try your best to still get the sleep. Lack of sleep is a habit that will age your skin and just make you look saggy, dull. I've seen it in myself. When I was in my 20s, life was amazing. I could pull 3 all-nighters and still look nice and young. But once I kind of turned 35, oh my goodness, I could actually see the effects of lack of sleep. So you'll see it on a day-to-day basis. And just like compound interest, if you gyp yourself on sleep and not get enough sleep, your skin will show it and it will age faster.
Dr. Kemmy, I agree with you wholeheartedly. In my 20s, I could pull all-nighters like it was nobody's business. Okay. And somehow I can't anymore. For some strange reason, I can't. And it's killing me. I'm wondering what changed, what happened. Aging, I tell you.
Time happened, but it's a good thing we can't pull all-nighters like we did in our 20s. We were damaging our skin without even knowing it. And for people who are 30 plus, another reason to really take care and pay attention to all the things we do. In our 20s, the skin is forgiving. The skin is still generating new collagen. But once we get to our 30s, we stop generating new collagen, and then we actually start losing collagen. So then when you do things like skipping out on sleep and eating unhealthy foods that tend to worsen your inflammation, you're actually aging yourself a lot faster. And whatever collagen that you had is just diminishing and dwindling. And there come the fine lines and the wrinkles and the reasons why people come running to dermatologists to get procedures like Botox and fillers and lasers. So if you want to save yourself money and save yourself procedures, listen to the advice on diet and sleep and drinking lots of water to stay nice and hydrated.
Thank you for that, Dr. Kemmy. I have a feeling I'll be seeing you in a few years if the way things keep going. But even as a new father, it's amazing how I find the strength to carry on with so little sleep. But I think one of the challenges that I'm facing personally, I don't know about other people, is having to juggle. Sometimes, I want to give my child, my daughter, all the time and attention, read to her that she needs to grow and develop her brain. But I have so much work that I often have to do. And so I feel stressed. And I know stress isn't good. I mean, stress is linked to so many other chronic diseases. Can you tell us a little bit about the relationship between stress and aging?
So stress is a big ager. It ages people prematurely, and not just your internal organs, but also your skin. Stress is one of the major agers, and it's one of the things that we call the silent killers. And, unfortunately, in our society in the societies that we live in today, we're bombarded with a lot of things that give us these chronic levels of stress. And, the stress response was a response that was created to help us acutely, because when we are stressed, our cortisol levels go up, our heart rates go up. It was perfect in the days when maybe stress was a lion or an elephant coming for you, and your body just needs to get into that fight or flight mode and save yourself from that stress, and then would relax. Unfortunately, in our societies today, we have chronic stress, and it's not that acute fight or flight stress. It's very chronic stress, whether it's feeling or maybe not having enough help with childcare, and so having a lot in your plate when it comes to juggling your job, juggling parenting, being a good member of society, doing all the things we need to do. So a lot of us have chronic stress, and it's aging us. It's aging society. It's causing people to have a lot of the chronic problems that we have, and it's also making the problems worse. So, there's some problems that you have that are not necessarily caused by stress, like, say, for example, acne, but it's definitely exacerbated by stress. Aging is exacerbated by stress. And, simple things like when we're stressed, we frown a lot. And when we frown a lot, we move those muscles a lot. And that's why people get their wrinkles. They get their 11 lines and other wrinkles just by frowning, and the kind of angry resting faces, or the muscular tone that we have when we're stressed out. And then even beyond wrinkles, stress, whenever we're stressed, our body is more inflamed. And when we're in an inflammatory state, there's a condition that we call inflammaging. We age faster when we're inflamed, and the body just doesn't function as well as it should when we're inflamed. So in general, it's really, really important to learn how to control stress in our lives. And, controlling stress is a topic in and of itself. And, it's also hard. It's easy to tell people just control your stress. It's harder to know the nitty-gritties. What I like to do is to just incorporate, I like for myself to do one new thing every week that will help me manage stress. And if I can add something every week or every 2 weeks, I try to incorporate it into my daily lifestyle. And stress control you can do very simple things. Like, for example, for 1 week, I just decided that my way of controlling stress is just by affirmations. And I would just repeat positive affirmations the first thing when I woke up. So I said I would have my affirmations as soon as I get up, and just before I go to bed. That can control a lot of your stress. Just having affirmations and meditating. Other simple things you can do to control yourself when you're stressed is just to stop for a little bit and just try breathing exercises. It sounds so simple, and it sounds like it's something that won't help. Just practicing slow breathing and being present when you're breathing, thanking God for giving you life, for allowing you to breathe, that alone can lower your stress levels. So I'm a fan of just trying small little things and incorporating them into your life little by little to help control stress. I'd say you should try to have a self-care day. Try your best to have it, even if it's every other week, where you just have 1 hour for self-care. And in that hour, you can take a nice relaxing bath, listen to nice music, have a nice scented candle, and just relax, listen to positive things. That will help your stress. Another thing I found that helps a lot with stress control is just turning out the news. I don't know about you, but I found that when I was watching the news a lot, I was just stressed. You hear about everything bad going on in this country, going on around the world, and you're just riled up and ready to fight. And I found that when I controlled how much news I listened to, and just decided to just listen to a little bit, sometimes just read it instead of listening to it, because our newscasters, they're so dramatic, they rile up your emotions. I found that I was a much happier person. So if there's somebody out there who watches news 5 hours a day and you're so angry because you hear of all the bad things going on in the world, some of these things you can't control. And so if you can't control it, there's some things you just don't need to know about, because you can't control them anyways. Just don't learn about them and spend your time on positive things that will actually build you as a person.
Excellent advice. And you're right. I mean, I find myself, when I'm constantly watching the news, I find myself getting riled up for nothing. I don't know these people, and I can't help them. Just say a prayer for them and move on. But you're absolutely right. It's time to take stock and be present with ourselves, with our current situations. One of the ways that I find very helpful is exercising. I I have a treadmill now that it's cold outside. So I often go downstairs and I just run a lot. And I'm sure, that and for me at least, it makes a world of a difference because I'm able to, unwind, if you will. Tell us a little bit about some of the beneficial aspects of physical exercise on skincare. Because I know when you exercise, you sweat and you're getting rid of a lot of the waste that accumulates in your body through sweat. But what are some other things that benefits that exercise brings to the body in terms of healthy skincare and aging well?
Oh, perfect. So well said. You're so right that exercise is an excellent way to control stress. So if all exercise did for you was help lower your stress levels and raise the levels of the endorphins, the feel good endorphins in the brain. If that's all that exercise did, it would be worth it. But thankfully, exercise does a lot more than that. As you alluded, when we exercise, we sweat a lot, and the skin is an excretory organ. So when we sweat, we're sweating out toxins, the toxins that would have otherwise stressed out the skin and the skin. So that's another benefit of exercising. And then another benefit of exercising is that it boosts circulation. So when we do exercise that's vigorous, like cardio, we're boosting circulation throughout the whole body. It's called cardio because the heart gets really good benefit from it, but it's not just the heart that gets benefit from cardio. The brain does too, pretty much every organ system, including the skin. And so parts of the skin that we're probably not getting as much circulation, when your heart is pumping fast and the circulation is better, they get a good circulation and they're able to get the nutrients that they need and get rid of the toxins. And so your skin tends to have a glow. A lot of people have a nice, healthy glow when they're exercising every day. So that's one other benefit that it does. Another benefit is that when we exercise, we feel better about ourselves and we look better. It helps tone us up. And when we're nice and toned and we look better and feel better, we just have a better self-image, and that helps us take more care of our skin and take care of ourselves. So, when it comes to exercising, all types of exercise are beneficial for the skin. I think everyone should do a little bit of cardio, a little bit of strength training to build up the muscles, and then the stretch exercises like yoga just to help you with your flexibility and pliability. All of those help out the skin. Other things that, just some tips when it comes to exercise though. Exercise is a good thing, but sometimes we can exercise and harm our skin. So, some tips on how not to harm your skin when you're exercising. Make sure that when you exercise, if possible, you can take a shower right afterwards so that the sweat can be washed off, because as we said, the sweat with the sweat we have some toxins that are released. So if you can shower right afterwards, you're washing it off the body. It also helps when you shower right after you exercise. It also helps prevent you from conditions like folliculitis, which is a bacterial overgrowth, which is a condition where you have some inflammation of the hair follicles that's associated with bacterial overgrowth. So make sure if you can, at least shower after you exercise. If you can't shower, at least wash your face. For people who wear makeup, it's best not to exercise with makeup if you can do it, just so that you have so that your pores can breathe when you're exercising. Other things, a lot of people like to exercise outside. We've been talking about sun safety. I see a lot of skin cancers in my runners because they run so long in the sun without sun protection. So just remember to exercise with sun protection, and also remember to put a good moisturizer and to use products that will protect your skin from chafing whenever you're doing the movements with your exercise. So those are just some tips off the top of my head for safety during exercise, but I totally agree that exercise is amazing for the skin and amazing to control stress and just for your general well-being.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kemmy, for those tips. As you were talking, I kept thinking of the role of genes. There's this company called Maybelline. I think they sell feminine products, beauty products. And one of their tagline is maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline or something to that effect. I don't follow that, type of product myself, but I see their commercials. And so with that, I want to know, what is the impact of genetics? Are some people just naturally born with good skin while others sort of have to work? We have to do some of the things you mentioned, apply some of the tips you shared with us. What exactly is the impact of genetics on skincare, and how can we make sure that our children and our children's children have good, healthy skin?
So genetics definitely impacts our skin. And yes, it's true, some people are born with amazing skin. There are some families that you see that even in their 60s, the women look amazing. They look like they're in their 40s, and other families seem to age faster. So genetics is just one of those things that if you won the genetic lottery, good for you. Other people just won't age as well. And in general, when it comes to genetic, the more melanin you have, when it comes to skin, actually, the more melanin you have, you've kind of won the lottery when it comes to aging, because you'll age a lot fast, a lot more slowly, and you'll look youthful for longer. Genetics is amazing, but I do want to tell people, though, that, the genetics is something that we can't control as of yet. Maybe when medicine advances, we can control our genes and modify the genes, but it's the one thing we can't control. But, we shouldn't just say, oh, in my family, we age prematurely, all hope is lost, I'm just gonna look old, I'm gonna look like a grandma when I'm 35. Even though genetics plays a big role, the good news is that so many other things that we've discussed today play a big role in your skin health and wellness. And so even though you feel like you've not been dealt the best set of genes, there are a lot of things that you can control. And so you don't have to blame it on your genes, and you don't have to lose hope. So you can control your diet. As we said, the healthier your diet, the better your skin will look. And we definitely want you to be more plant-based with a lot of fruits and vegetables and healthy protein. We definitely want you to exercise. There are no genes that affected people's ability to exercise for the most part. So you can exercise, and you can't blame it on genes where if you don't exercise. You can still make sure you're getting sleep, because no one was born with genes that told them that they can't sleep adequately. So while genetics plays a role, it's the one thing that we can't control. Many other factors we can control. So again, for people who have come from families with good genes, it's a good thing. Don't take it for granted. Still protect what you have. And for people who feel like they have bad genes when they look around with their family members, also know that there's hope and that there's a lot that you can do to control how your skin looks with a good skincare regimen and the right lifestyle. So yes, the genes matter, but then you can't control them. So do the things, focus on the things that you can control.
All right. Now, Dr. Kemmy, you're also the author of a book called Live and Look Younger, a dermatologist's guide to youthful skin and ageless beauty. What can you tell us about that book for those who may be interested?
So pretty much, I'm really excited about the book. I would say that every single thing we discussed today is covered in the book in a lot more details with a lot more examples. So the book, in the first part of the book, you learn all about how the skin works, how the skin ages. You have your basic understanding of the skin, and the book also goes into basic skincare conditions that bother people whether it's skin cancers, adult acne, other acne, rosacea, hyperpigmentation. It goes into all of that so that you have your basic understanding, because when you understand things, then you can work to fix them. The second part of the book is all about the skincare regimen. We talked a little bit about it today. In that part of the book, I talk about cleansers. I go into everything, questions like whether African black soap is good for you. We talk about that. I talk about the different types of cleansers, how to pick what's good for you. I talk about different moisturizers. I talk about active ingredients like antioxidants, whether it's vitamin C, vitamin E, resveratrol. I talk about the acids that we should be incorporating into our skincare. So you'll get all that in the book. Another part of the book goes into the lifestyle changes, and there's a lot of evidence and data just supporting why we need to sleep, why we need to exercise, why we need to control stress, with a lot of practical tips offered. And then the book also goes into what supplements we should be taking for optimal
Mm.
skin health, cosmetic procedures, and how to know what's good for you. So there's a lot of knowledge packed into the book. I'm so excited about it. And yes, I hope all the listeners plan to purchase a copy of the book, Live and Look Younger.
Yes, and her website is drkemmymd.com. That's Kemmy, KEMMYMD.com. Now, I know that's your website. Are you also on other social media platforms like Instagram?
Yes, I am on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and the handle is at Dr. Kemmy MD. So that's DRKEMMYMD. And actually, if you go to my social media handles like Instagram or Facebook, I will give you a free guide on 7 ways to prevent premature aging. And that's a nice PDF that I created that also has a lot of the things that we talked about today, so that you can just remember, because I understand, I know that we went through so many topics today and you'll probably forget them. So that's why I created that freebie, so that you can have it and refer to it whenever you want to. And again, you can get it from my social media accounts, or if you go to my website, www.drkemmymd, and that's DRKEMMYMD.
So I've taken the liberty to include your website, drkemmymd.com, in the chat for everybody to
Thank you so much.
No problem. And of course, as we post this, this interview will be posted on our YouTube channel. All of her information, including her social media handles, will be included in there. Now, what is the best way for us, for those who are watching this, to get in touch with you?
So you can get in touch with me on, you can message me on social media. You can also go to the website, Dr. Kemmy MD, and just send me a message on the contact form that's there. So I'd say those are the best ways to reach me. Either reach me on social media, Instagram, Facebook at Dr. Kemmy MD, or you can go to my website to reach me. And I'm pretty good at getting back to people within 24 hours.
Yes, she is, guys. Yes, she is. So take my word for it. So Dr. Kemmy, I appreciate you. I thank you for all of the kernels of knowledge you've shared with us. There is one thing that I want to say. Of all the tips that you've given us, what is one favorite product of yours that you recommend everybody use as far as skincare is concerned?
So I would have to say a retinoid, actually. Again, we talked a lot about retinoids. I like the fact that we have over 35 years of data backing retinoids. What I would say, though, there's so many to get out there. I'm not going to mention any one. Just look for a product that has a retinol. And the important thing is to start slow and to just move on beyond it. The other tip that I'd really like to give people, and the other thing when it comes to products, is that when it comes to product, one size that does not fit all. And there's so many skin types out there beyond just dry, sensitive, and oily, and normal. And so, the skin typing system that I like to use actually is one called the Skin Type Solutions Typing System, that classifies all skin types in one of 16 skin types. Once you know your very specific skin type, then you can know the exact regimen that will work for you. You'll know what cleanser is best for you, what moisturizer is best for you, what serums are best for you. And one way you can actually know your skin type, if you go to the Dr. Kemmy MD website, there's actually a link to a quiz that you can take for free, where you know your skin type for free. And just knowing your skin type will help you a lot, because it'll help you choose the cleanser that works well for you, because the cleanser that works for me does not work for my sister, does not work for my daughter. We're all different and have different skin types. And so the one other tip I'd give to people is know your specific skin type, because once you know your specific skin type, you can use products that work for you, that are designed for you and will work for you.
Thank you for that. All right, folks, this is
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Kemmy. All right, folks, this is the part of the podcast where everyone, we open it up to the floor, to the audience. And for those who have a question to ask, feel free to. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording right now, just because we want anonymity. Listen to the audio version of the Self-Care Forum podcast on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts.